Okay, hi guys. So today we're going to talk about Google Earth tours. One of your big projects for this unit is to create a Google Earth tour following Huck and Jim on their trek down the Mississippi. So I'm going to show you what Google Earth is all about, how to make a tour on there. If you've never done it before, it's a really cool feature. So first, how do you get started? How do you start creating a Google Earth tour? So to begin, oh gosh, my thingies didn't pop up. Well, fun. Okay, so to begin, in your browser, you go to earth.google.com. You can also just Google search Google Earth. Either way, you'll get there. You'll click the three lines in the top left corner of the page. I'm gonna demonstrate this in a minute, so don't panic if this is complicated. You should already be logged into your Google account, and then if you're not, just log in. And then in that menu, you'll click projects and then create. And it will ask you if you want to create the project as a Google Drive or as a KML file. You're going to create this project as a Google Drive. Okay, so let's explore. All right. Perfect. Okay, so when you get on Google Earth, when you get on Google Earth, this is what you'll see. Just a blank, well, not a blank, it's a globe, but just the world, right? So you're going to click those three lines right there, menu. I'm logged into my work account and not my Corvallis account, so I'm sorry. But it'll still look the same. And then you'll click projects and new project and create project in Google Drive. So now you're here, right? And so the first thing that you'll do is you'll be able to add a new feature. You can search for a place. So let's search Corvallis. Oh, I didn't specify Montana. Oops. Nope. So no, not Oregon. So Corvallis, Montana. So there we are. We're in Corvallis. We're right here. If you want to add Corvallis to your project, you can just click Add to Project. You can change the title. I normally just leave it as the city. You can feel free to do that for your Huck Finn assignment, or you can title it whatever event occurred there. Either way is acceptable. So we have Corvallis. Another thing we need to do is name our project, right? So we'll title it Google Earth Presentation. Perfect. Yours is going to be titled like something about Huckleberry Finn. Be creative. You can title it whatever you want. So we have our first point. We can click it, edit, feature. You can replace the image and description. So when you search for a place on Google Earth, it'll give you a photo and a description of that place. So it just had like a generic photo of Corvallis and like an explanation of what Corvallis was. But here's what you are going to want to do. You're going to add a photo. You're going to want to add a description. So you're going to summarize the events that occurred there, why this place is important, what Huck and Jim did there, all of that fun stuff. I want like all the details, okay? And then info box, you can add a little info box on your location as well. And then for your place mark, which is this little guy, this yellow guy, you can change the color. So like I want to make it purple. And you can change the icon. So there's a bunch of options. Click see more icons like I just did, those three dots, or they'll be default right here. So we'll say, awesome. I want to put a dime in there. Because why not? Cool. So you don't have to mess with anything that says set view manually. If you want to play with that, feel free, but it's not a requirement. So like what we've done here is fine. So let's show you guys what my commute looks like. So I come to Corvallis. I come to Corvallis every day for work to teach you, right? But where did I come from? So you just add another place. I technically live in Stevensville, but my home is closer to Florence, so I'm gonna put Florence. But yeah, so you would just do the same thing that you did with that first one. So here's my commute. Here's how far I come every day to come to work. So that's fun. And then once you have multiple places, you'll have way more than two, but I'm just going to do two for the purposes of this demonstration. You can hide them, or you can go back and edit. You can delete it, or you can rearrange them. So I come from Corvallis, or from Florence to Corvallis, so I'd probably want to put Florence first, right? And that is like the gist of your introduction to Google Earth. Feel free to ask questions, play around with Google Earth a little bit. You'll figure it out. It's a really cool tool. So now I'm going to show you an example of a presentation of a Google Earth tour, maybe if it wants to load. So this tour, I just want to close out of this other tab. Okay, awesome. So this is a tour I made for a senior level class. It's a Google Earth tour following Victor Frankenstein and Frankenstein. So what's really cool is I have all my places, whatnot, and then you can present it. So I hit present, and I'll move my face. There we go. So I present. I have Geneva. I have a picture of Geneva in the 1880s, which is when this book was published, or when Frankenstein was published. I don't expect you to know anything about Frankenstein. I'm just showing you an example. So Frankenstein was born in Geneva. I have my little home icon, and I made them blue just because, but I made it home because that's where his home was, right? And then he doesn't move, but his family visits Milan to adopt Elizabeth. So I put a picture of one of the movie adaptations of Elizabeth as a child. 3, they come back, the family comes back to Geneva. I have like a painting sketch of Victor and Elizabeth. So for your pictures, you can use a variety of resources. You can use photos, sketches. Those are like the main ones. I guess like if there's something you could use a graph for, all of that fun stuff. Just get creative with it. I want to see your creativity. So I think this is like the gist. So Victor goes to Ingolstadt to study in college. So I used a photo from one of the film adaptations, which is totally fine. There are some adaptations of Huckleberry Finn. So if you want to use like a photo of that specific scene in that film, that's a great thing to do. Also, there are a ton of sketches of different scenes in Huckleberry Finn. I used a few in the introduction to Huck Finn that we did. They're really easy to find. You really just have to do a Google image search, and then especially for like really specific locations. So we know the story starts in St. Petersburg, Missouri. So if you wanted to just do like a generic picture of St. Petersburg, the only thing that I ask is that you make it historically relevant. So go back to this time period and find a photo from that time. So what Huck and Jim would be seeing, right? So that's the gist of this. There was one other part I wanted to show you. So there's one point where it just says that Victor and his friend Henry go to Scotland, which isn't a very specific place. If it's not a super specific place, you can just estimate, right? So I just put Scotland because I know they're in Scotland, but I don't know where in Scotland. And then later we have this one, which is where Victor goes to dump a body. I won't give too many spoilers, but he essentially goes to dump a body out there. And here is where, like, generally he's going to be. So the book tells you he rows away from this island. So I just put a place marker in the ocean. That's about where he'll be, right? The same thing with Walton's ship, which is where the book begins and ends, just in the Atlantic Ocean, right? We know it's kind of north because we know there's ice, whatnot, all of that fun stuff. So we just put it there. So that's basically what you should be doing, especially with places like Pap's Cabin, where you kind of know where it is, but you don't exactly know, just best educated guess based off of textual evidence. So that is basically our Google Earth assignment and your introduction to Google Earth tours in general. You are always encouraged to ask me questions, ask your classmates for help, consult the interwebs if you want to see if Google Earth can do something that maybe I don't know about. This is what I've pretty much used Google Earth for in the past, other than just like looking at a map. So this is probably the majority of my knowledge on this program. So any questions beyond what I've kind of covered, I might not be able to answer, but I will help you find an answer. So with that, hopefully you feel okay with this assignment. It will be due once we finish the book, and you do not have to present it because nobody wants to watch that presentation 18 times. But you will be turning it into me, most likely via Google Classroom, maybe sharing it with me. I haven't quite decided yet. And it will be probably a pretty major grade. I haven't quite figured out how many points it's worth, but probably a pretty large chunk of your grade for this unit. So I would encourage working hard on it, putting in that effort, putting in that creativity, and doing it as you read. Because once you are reading and you're like, oh, they went here, it's a lot easier to put it into your tour rather than reading a bunch of chapters and being like, well, I know they went here, but I don't know when. So it'll be okay. I know it's a lot of information. Good luck. You can do it. I'm here to help you. And with that, we have finished our Google Earth tour tutorial. Isn't that exciting? And now I have to awkwardly stop my recording.